Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session that was created for a lady that had a panic attack while traveling on a journey underground, under a tunnel, and there was a perception that the water above her was making her at risk, and that caused severe anxiety with a desire to get out of a moving train that was on a tunnel. So this is what's known as a sensitizing event, and many people that have claustrophobia or a fear of traveling on public transport, it's not that they fear the actual danger so much as that sensitizing event has caused such severe anxiety, and that anxiety is linked to the context of that environment, that as a result of that, they don't feel safe in that environment. And it's not that they're worried about traffic or breakdowns and things like that. They don't feel safe because of the anxiety, which is an anxiety loop, because then the anxiety increases because there's a concern of feeling anxiety, which then primes yet more anxiety. This was a fairly recent case with this particular client. She'd only had this for a few months, and therefore, for the majority of her life, she had a different neural pathway that knew how to feel safe when traveling. So what you're going to hear on this particular hypnosis session is a variation of what's known as the fast phobia cure or the rewind technique. But for those hypnotherapists and NLPers listening, you'll detect there's a few variations of that in terms of levels of disassociation, forms of timeline as well, so utilizing resources from the past and also future pacing for the desired outcome, and coping strategies so that if any anxiety returns, there's a new belief system that she can handle that anxiety. I think anyone experiencing anxiety as a result of feeling confined in closed spaces, or indeed traveling, particularly on public transport where you can't simply leave, perhaps even fear of flying as well, will benefit from this hypnosis session. But just be aware that it was created very specifically for someone with a very specific anxiety linked to a particular context. So a lot of the references you're going to hear in this hypnosis session are suited and are relevant to the individual I was working with. Therefore, if you're listening to this and you feel it doesn't quite fit for you, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation call with me to explore what it would be like to work with me directly, and I can explain number of sessions and costs and that kind of stuff. But for now, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, that's it. Allow your eyelids to completely relax, and with your eyes closed, just enable feelings of tension to leave your body. Breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation, and as you exhale, feeling how good it feels to let any feelings of worry, stress, or tension just leave your body in your outward breath. That's it. Enabling you to go deeper and deeper, relaxed. As your body relaxes, your imagination becomes more active, more playful. And I want you to think of a beach, a beautiful beach that you have positive associations with. And I want you to imagine almost like you're a bird flying over that beach and seeing that beach, seeing just how beautiful that beach is. And on this day, it's empty. There's no one on the beach apart from someone that looks just like you. I want you to see that version of you relaxing on the beach, perhaps on a hammock or a sun lounger, perhaps just lying on a blanket on the beach, and then shift your perspective so you feel like it's now you on the beach, that you're there on the beach feeling the sunshine on your skin, hearing the gentle breaking of the waves. I want you to look around you, see the blue skies, perhaps even feel what it feels like to be on that beach. And notice how much easier it is to breathe in and breathe out and really deeply relax now. I want you to imagine as you lie there on that beach, I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and with each descending number, you're going to feel deeper and deeper relaxed. 10, eyelids feeling heavier and heavier, releasing any tension around your eyebrows, your eyelids around your eyes, just letting go of that tension now. 9, focusing on the muscles in your forehead, those same muscles that are responsible for facial expressions like surprise or concern. They don't need to have any tension now, so as you breathe in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, allow the tension in your forehead to be released and feel that tension being released in your outward breath. That's right. 8, focusing on the muscles in your jaw, around your mouth. As you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, just feel that again, that tension is being released. There on that beach, still hearing the gentle breaking of the waves on the shore as 7, you focus on your neck and your shoulders. Imagining any tension in your neck and your shoulders, almost like crystals of ice frozen into your muscle cells. But there on this warm beach under the sunshine, feel like they're melting away, that the tension is melting away now, enabling you to go deeper and deeper, relaxed. 6, feeling like your arms are getting heavier, limp and loose. That's it. 5, as you breathe in, breathing in deeper, exhaling deeper, feeling like your internal organs are also starting to relax. Your lungs relax, stomach relaxes, heart relaxes, diaphragm relaxes. They all relax inside as you find it easier to breathe even deeper now. 4, now focusing on your gut, a source of anxiety. Those tiny muscle tensions in the gut can make you feel anxious if you evaluate that there is a reason to feel anxious. But here in this place, lying on this beach, there's no reason to be anxious, only relax. So just allow any tension in your gut to just melt away now. That's it. 4, and then 3, going into your legs feeling limp, loose, heavy. Your whole body feeling so relaxed, almost like you've got a desire to nap there on that beach. That's it. 2, legs all the way down to your ankles and your toes, feeling so deeply relaxed now. And then just imagine what it would feel like as we go 1, feeling so deeply relaxed, what it would feel like to fall asleep there on that beach that's so relaxing. And imagine that you're able to dream vividly while you're asleep on that beach. And I want you to imagine that you're dreaming that you're walking down the beach. you can look back and see there's a version of you, your conscious mind, fully asleep there on that beach. But there's another part, a part of you that wants to change, that wants it to be more like it was in the past, in a key area of your life. And that part walks down the beach, still feeling relaxed, still feeling positive, until you see a door. And the door doesn't even need to be connected to a building. But this door is taking you into your own private cinema within your mind. I will count down from 5 to 1. And when I arrive at 1, you will walk through the door into your own private cinema, just in your imagination. Seeing the door in front of you. 5. Perhaps putting your hand on a handle. 4. That's it, starting to turn that handle to open that door. 3. That's it, pulling the door open. 2. That's it, walking through that door. And then 1, closing the door behind you as you now are walking into your own private cinema within your imagination, within your mind. This is your private cinema, no one else is there. I want you to find the most comfortable chair you can in this cinema. And notice that this cinema is different from normal cinemas. Normally cinemas have one screen directly in front. This cinema has 3 screens, all at the same level, all at the same size. But one is on the left, so you would look diagonally left at that screen. There's one in the middle that is straight forward. And then there is one on the right, so you would just look to your right and see that screen. All in front of you, all in this cinema. And I want you to look at the screen on the left. I want you to see yourself on that screen at a time in the past where you had the ability to confidently travel on trains, through tunnels, perhaps even on a particular trip towards perhaps Paris or Amsterdam or Brussels. And when you can see that version of you confidently, happily traveling on that journey to that destination, let me know by nodding your head. And that's your past. And the neural pathways that made that possible are still there. They're in your brain, they're in your mind, and you can access them. And then I want you to see the screen diagonally to your right. This is you in the future. Perhaps you can see yourself weeks or months from now having successfully made a change to give you that version of you that was always there, that ability of you to confidently travel. And you know it's the future because you look different. You know it's the future. And I want you to get a sense that you're seeing just all different things that you're doing as you would want them to do. And when you can see that version of you in the future, perhaps traveling on certain things that recently you've avoided, but not just doing it reluctantly, doing it confidently, feeling relaxed, feeling in control, and feeling that you can handle the situations in such a confident way that it just becomes effortless for you to travel in that way. Just let me know by nodding your head. And then the middle screen, which represents the recent past, will still be blank. We're going to visit this memory from a different location. I want you to keep your physical body there in the chair and then just float up and imagine there's a new version of you behind the projector booth. You can still see the screen on the left of you in the past confidently traveling, and you in the future confidently traveling. And the screen in the middle is still blank at the moment. And I want you, behind bulletproof glass, to know that you're in the projector booth, to then beam a memory, a time where you traveled and you experienced anxiety, maybe a specific journey. I want you to watch a movie of when it started, and when it started there was no anxiety. Before you got on the train, before the journey started, you know there was no anxiety. And then see that version of you perhaps having a conversation with your daughter. Maybe see yourself. Make an evaluation. You're only guessing, but you're evaluating based on the facial expressions people make when they start thinking about things they don't normally think about. And then notice that version of you was starting to have the symptoms of feeling panicky or anxious. Maybe they felt it in their gut or their chest. And that maybe contributed to more rapid breathing, elevated heart rate. And just observe from the projection booth what happened all the way to the end until they got to the end of their destination after all of that anxiety and stress. And when they got to the end of the destination, finally, after a while, the anxiety went all the way down until there was no anxiety. And I want you to pause that movie at the end where the anxiety has gone away. And when you're there, let me know by nodding your head. That's right. I want you to play it forward one more time, just to make sure that you're aware of the sequences as you're observing them. See yourself perhaps, maybe arriving, possibly at London St Pancras. See yourself boarding a train. See who you're with. See the sequence. And for the beginning of that journey, it was fine. And then there's a thought, a specific thought, an evaluation that wasn't true, but led to a feeling of anxiety, acting as if it was true, that you were in some kind of threat or danger. And then see your reaction to that. See that you were trying to get out of that situation, that anyone would if they felt genuine fear for their safety. And then see where you get to your final destination, and then finally, eventually after time, the adrenaline has subsided, and then you feel okay again. And then pause it at that point in time when the anxiety is no longer there. And when you're at that point, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine that because you're in the projector booth, you've got the ability to rewind it like an old VHS cassette. I want it to start at the end when you've got to your destination, and then rewind it so it's all happening backwards. Instead of seeing yourself boarding the train at the beginning, you see yourself boarding the train in reverse, stepping onto the train backwards. See everything happening backwards. The conversation happens backwards. The anxiety happens backwards. You see yourself experiencing anxiety and then see that anxiety going away. It all happens backwards. And then when it gets to the beginning, before you've even boarded the train, let me know by nodding your head. And then jump back to the end. And we're going to rewind it a few times just to make sure that you can see what it's like for the whole memory to happen backwards. But each time it will get faster. Perhaps you're there at your destination. You start to experience the anxiety in reverse. It all happens backwards. You board a train. The train is going backwards, under a tunnel, all the way backwards. You see yourself on the train, speaking in reverse, speaking backwards, thinking backwards. Everything happens backwards until it gets to the point where you didn't even board the train yet. And once you're confident that you know what the sequence is happening backwards, just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. I want you to jump to the end of that movie. And this time, I want you to then move yourself from the projection booth so that you're no longer seeing yourself on screen, but you are the character on the screen. But it's at the end after everything happened. There's still no anxiety now because it's the end of the memory. I want you to feel like you're in your body. And I want you to get a sense that you are wherever you were back then, perhaps in a different country. Know where you are. And then imagine that everything's happening backwards, but this time in your own body. You can feel yourself walking backwards, boarding the train backwards, thinking backwards. If anxiety had your intestines feeling like they're twisting or rotating clockwise, make it anti-clockwise. If your heart is beating too fast, imagine your heart is beating backwards. If there's any inner dialogue in your head, imagine that the inner dialogue is happening backwards. If there's any words coming out of your mouth, imagine they happen backwards. It all happens backwards until you're still feeling no anxiety because it's before the thought happened, but it all happens backwards in your own body. And then jump back to the end as we make this happen faster and faster. Now the whole memory going backwards will take just 2 or 3 seconds. All the way backwards. Get a sense that it's all happening in reverse, and then again, getting faster and faster until the whole memory can happen backwards in a second, and then again, all the way backwards in a second. Jump to the back, going backwards in time, everything happening in reverse, and then it happens so far backwards that you find yourself back on a train before this anxiety even existed. And experience what it feels like to experience a journey as you did in the past, boarding the train as you did before this ever happened. Knowing that you can feel confident, you feel resourceful, you feel calm and comfortable, and your evaluation is that I can handle this. And you can handle this. I want you to get a sense that you can enjoy the journey to wherever you're going, feeling just as good as you felt in the past. Because back then, you didn't create this false belief, this false evaluation, and therefore there's nothing to trigger anything. You can just enjoy the journey all the way from beginning to end, feeling how good it feels to feel this way. And if you're able to experience that journey in the past as you did back then, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to now jump back to the projection booth. And this time, you're the director of this movie. I want you to direct it seeing yourself on screen back then when that anxiety happened as you wanted it to have happened. I want you to observe that you're having a conversation with your daughter, but this time you evaluate that even if there's lots of water above you, there is 75 meters of solid rock protecting you. There is high-tech tunnels made of reinforced steel to protect you even after the rock. That thousands and thousands of journeys have taken place without any incident. And therefore, in this version, you're evaluating that you are completely safe. And notice that as you observe that version, there is no anxiety. And if there's no anxiety, there is no sensations physically in your body. And if there's no physical sensations in your body, there's no desire to escape or get out, because you feel good and you just want to get to your destination. I want you to play this from beginning to end forwards this time, exactly as you would have wanted it to have been, with a different evaluation, creating a different emotional state, creating a different feeling, and creating a different chain reaction of events, meaning that you enjoyed that journey. There was no stress, no anxiety, no panic, because your anxiety was not proportionate to reality. It was proportionate to an evaluation that wasn't real, that wasn't helpful, that wasn't useful. And once you've seen that version, maybe 2 or 3 times going forward, exactly as you would have wanted it to have been back then in October, let me know by nodding your head. And now it's time to pause it right at the beginning before you got on that train, the point where you're still excited about going to your destination with your daughter. I want you to climb into that version of you, but this time you're going to make things happen as you would have wanted to them have happened on that particular day. You've seen it in your mind, you've primed your brain to do things exactly as you want them to do them, and I want you to imagine that you're climbing on that train, finding a seat, and you feel comfortable, feeling completely resourceful, feeling that this is well within your capabilities, that you can handle this easily. And then imagine at some point in the journey, there's a conversation with your daughter where the exact same question gets asked, except you think about it differently. And the way that you think about it makes you feel safe, makes you feel protected even, makes you feel that this is one of the safest ways that you can travel. And notice that when you evaluate it in that way, you're relaxed, breathing deeply. I want you to get a sense that you can enjoy the rest of that journey. You experience it as you want to experience it. And I want you to get a sense that you can handle this. That anxiety is not a reflection of the threat, but a reflection of the evaluation that you make in your mind. And as you evaluate that you're protected and safe, and that the purpose of travel is to get to a destination that you want to get to, that will give you enjoyable memories when you arrive, notice that you breathe deep in your diaphragm. You can feel relaxed, positive, comfortable, in control. And then imagine that you arrive at your destination and you enjoy it as you would have wanted to have enjoyed it. And then I want you to jump back to the beginning and play that again in your own body through your own eyes. But because you've just experienced a journey that you can handle, I want you to experience this one where you enjoy it even more. That even if questions are about where you are and what's above you, you can evaluate it in a way that you feel protected and safe. And you felt protected and safe many times in your life, so you know how to feel that way. And it feels good to feel that way. And you now feel that way even when you're on a train. And you imagine you would even feel that way if you were in an underground. If you were in a car under a tunnel, you know what it feels like to feel safe. And I want you to get a sense that you are reactivating a neural network, a neural pathway that existed in your past that was a better way of thinking about things, a useful way of thinking about things. So why would you go back to a way that's been making you feel anxious if you can go back to a way that made you feel safe? As you reconnect with that feeling, the feeling that you had in the past when you travel, just let me know by nodding your head. That's it. And then do it one more time just to really connect with that feeling of being safe and protected all the way from beginning to end, the entire journey. That's right. You are safe, you are protected, and you can handle this. This is well within your capabilities because you've done this so many times before. And when you reconnect with you at your most resourceful, this is an easy journey to make. Jump back to the beginning and now change it to a train ride. Not necessarily the Eurostar, maybe a different train ride, maybe from London to Manchester or Manchester to London. But imagine boarding that train, feeling safe and protected, feeling comfortable, feeling relaxed. That's it. You board the train. You connect with that feeling of you've done this before and you can handle it. And even if there are slight echoes of anxiety, tell yourself, this is temporary and I can handle this. And notice that as you evaluate that you can handle it, any anxiety goes away. And notice that as you realize that all anxiety is temporary, you again realize that you can handle it. But maybe there's no anxiety on this journey anyway. As you just go from beginning to end, getting a sense that if you can handle this, you can handle anything. I want you to get a sense that it isn't even just train rides. I want you to imagine now that you're driving in a car. You're driving in a car and there's a tunnel. And again, you're evaluating that you can handle this. You can handle this. Your resources exceed the demands. You feel safe and protected. And while you can't change the traffic around you, you can change your evaluations and you can change your breathing, enabling you to feel like you can handle this and anything like this. And if it feels that you can handle this, let me know by nodding your head. And then imagine that you get to your destination and then realize that this is just a movie on a screen, and then jump back to the projector unit and then see. Now all three screens, the past, the present and the future, are showing that you can handle it. You can see yourself in your past making journeys that you've made before confidently. You can see yourself on the middle screen doing things as you've wanted them to have done recently in the way that you would have wanted to have done them. And then you see the screen on the right in the future, perhaps weeks or months from now, feeling that this is completely within your control. And I want you to jump into that screen on the right, feeling that this change has taken place many weeks or months ago, and experience doing everything that you want to do in a confident way of feeling safe and secure. Maybe that's traveling to Paris. Maybe it's traveling to London. Maybe it's driving through a tunnel, but you can feel confident traveling in this way. That maybe there was a few times where a bit of anxiety came up, but you just evaluated it's temporary and you can handle it. And it was, and you did. And each time it got less and less and less until there was no anxiety at all. And then it felt just as it did before this thing even happened. Your brain can learn, and your brain can visit things that you've already know how to do. And your brain has decades of feeling safe and confident traveling in this way. And therefore that is the dominant neural pathway. You are reactivating that way of thinking because you haven't lost it. In the same way that you couldn't forget how to ride a bike if you tried, you can't forget how to feel confident traveling in this way if you tried. And as you reconnect with that way of thinking, the past, the present and the future, all accesses the resources needed to make this true. I want you to jump back in the projector booth, see all three screens with you, looking confident, safe and secure, and then float down into that version of you where you're in that comfortable seat in the cinema, again looking at all three screens, the past, the present and the future, showing you that you can handle this, that you can cope with this, and that you're safe and secure. And then you leave the cinema, but you leave the cinema with a feeling that something has changed. That whole thing was built on a false evaluation. And now that you've evaluated how things really are, everything that follows is no longer necessary. Why do you need to protect yourself from a threat that didn't exist? And the anxiety that you've been trying to avoid has only been created by a false evaluation that you couldn't cope. And now you're evaluating that you can cope. The anxiety is no longer needed. And you leave the cinema with that thought, finding yourself, as you close the door behind you, back on a beach, a paradise beach. And again, it feels like the change is there. I want you to see yourself lying on the beach, but in order to get to that version of you on the beach, I want you to imagine there is a tunnel. And you go through that tunnel and you feel safe and secure, and then at the end of the tunnel, you reconnect with who you really are. Someone that can handle this. Climb back into your own body, comfortable on that beach, feeling the sunshine, feeling that relaxing sound of the waves as they break on the shore, feeling, however, that something fundamentally has changed, that you've reconnected with a part of you that already knows how to do this. You don't need to relearn it. It's already there. And then imagine getting up out from perhaps that sun lounger or blanket or hammock, walking around the beach, feeling that you have the resources to handle this. And then realize that this is just a thought within a thought, an idea within an idea, a dream within a dream, and now you return to the present in your own physical body right now, listening to my voice firmly in the present, but bringing all of those changes with you. A new evaluation that this anxiety coping strategy was based on a false pretense, an idea that wasn't even real, and a belief that wasn't even helpful. And you don't need to control those variables around you, because you can control how you think about things, and you can control your response to any temporary feeling of anxiety simply by breathing outward slowly and evaluating that you can cope. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Get a sense that you're in your own physical body right now. As very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken with a resourceful feeling that something has changed that is useful. The things that you didn't think you can do, you now evaluate that you can do. And the more you do them, with a spirit of feeling that you can cope and handle that situation, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that becomes truer and truer the more that you do it. Anxiety is temporary. There may be echoes of the past, but they're echoes, not reality, and you can handle those echoes. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.